My mother-in-law knew my husband was cheating on me with a criminal. My mother-in-law and I have hated each other from the first time that we met. We could never agree on anything, mainly when it came to Dave, male 30, which caused problems in our relationship early on. She always had his back, even if he was the one in the wrong. Little did I know just how deep her loyalties lay. Her hatred for me was such that she would rather have my husband cheat on me with a criminal. I kid you not. My husband was busy. When Dave started to have less time for me after we got married, I had only his mother to blame. It was like she could never do anything by herself. She would call him day and night to do the plumbing, fix her TV, or even mow her lawn. And he would go running like the mommy boy he was, and it annoyed me to no end. I could not even make plans with my husband without consulting my mother-in-law, and she knew that she had such power over him and decided to use it against me. We had been married nearly 3 years when the fights became constant. I wanted us to move out of town and go to a different city that had better opportunities for us. But his mom poisoned him into thinking that I was somehow controlling him and taking him away from all he ever knew. Then, she brought up the issue of us having kids, which was something she would ask me every time. That woman would not hesitate to comment on my weight and quickly assume that I was pregnant, which I wasn't, so it would turn into an insult about me getting fat. And what did Dave have to say about it? My mom adores you and just want grandkids. She is so lonely. Which was utter rubbish because that woman was known in town for being the biggest busybody and meddling in people's business that she had no right being involved in. So slowly, everything built up and there was a huge strain on our marriage. And there was nothing I could do because she was an angel in his eyes. It was not like I did not try to get along with her, but her personality was so shallow that I ended up giving up. It was in those days that he would come home straight from work and leave without telling me where he was going, and I returned the same favor. Dave was not a bad person. Otherwise, why did I marry him? He used to be a gentleman who was very smart and liked taking care of me, but I started to sense a change in energy, almost a shift towards me. What I did not know was that there was a reason he was being so cold towards me, and it was not just because I hated his mom. There came a weekend when I had to go on a trip out of town to sort an emergency at the company I worked at. I was going to be back on a Monday, but they decided that I could go back home on Sunday evening, since we solved the problem earlier than expected. Since there was no communication between us and the last conversation we had was on Friday, I did not feel that he would even care to pick me up at the airport. He was most likely spending some quality time with his mom. Boy, was I in for a surprise. There was something very strange about my house when I entered, but I could not figure out what. That was until I noticed that there was a fur coat that wasn't mine. I did not call out to him when I saw the fur coat, but all I did was go straight to my bedroom and throw open the door. And would you imagine what I found? My husband busy with another woman? The first thing I did was pull off the homewrecker off my husband and take out all of my frustration on her. He, being much stronger than I, tried to get me off her, giving her the chance to run out of my room. I cannot even remember what I was saying to him, just that he was trying to stop me from going after her. The pain, anger, and disbelief that were boiling within me cannot be described. He had decided to bring someone into our bedroom, our house. That showed that he did not respect our marriage in the least. I told him to get out of my house and never come back, which was when his mother appeared out of nowhere, asking what the commotion was. She grabbed me from the room and dragged me downstairs, where she asked me what the hell I was doing. I could believe that she would support her son even after he had been making a mockery of our marriage in my own home. I asked her if she was daft. But my husband was cheating on me in my own house, and she told me that it was what I got for neglecting him. She said that I did not treat her son with respect, so why was I surprised that he had found a real woman? She was triumphant and laughing at me, which was when it started to make sense to me. She knew that my husband was having an affair, and she encouraged it. I demanded that she should tell me who that woman was and how long it had been going on for. She proudly told me that she had arranged for the whole thing. My husband was a man after all, and I had failed in my duties as a wife. The woman was some basic nobody named Rosie. You have no idea how long I have been waiting for the opportunity to slap her even once. It had been such a long time coming that when I smacked her, she looked like she was petrified for a moment or two. While she was looking so shocked, I grabbed her and threw her outside my door and shut it, telling her that if she wanted to live, she would never come into my house ever again. As for that stupid little man, Dave, he begged me to forgive him and told me that the woman meant nothing. He still loved me, but his words meant nothing. I knew marriage was not perfect, but ever since I got married to him, I have been in a state of depression and feeling underappreciated. He could not blame his mom for this mess and expected me to forgive him because he had a choice in the end. He was a grown man, for goodness sake, which is what I told him before telling him to leave my house. I think my anger and my wish to bring them both pain was much stronger than the hurt that I was feeling. I should have left and never come back long ago. I went I went AWOL for a couple of days while I was telling my close friends and family what happened. There was no option of forgiving him. Our marriage had been over for several months, and I still needed support to get through that difficult time. But he could not give me space. I am sort of the black sheep of the family, because I am the only one who is not a lawyer. Both my mother and my sister are divorce lawyers, while my dad is a prosecutor, and my younger brother wants to study to become a lawyer. So you can imagine what it was like growing up in a house with people who dug up dirt and used it against people. That meant no one could easily mess with me. By the time we were done with Dave and his mom, they regretted crossing me. My mom and sister immediately got to work, advising me on what to do and how to make sure I suffered minimum damage. My mom told me that I needed as much proof of his infidelity as possible because it would help me win my case so I would not have to pay him any alimony. This was not hard at all because he was now openly dating Rosie and his mother approved. But my salary was double his and I had more assets than him, so I would be at a disadvantage in the case of divorce. But proof of his infidelity would be golden in making sure I did not give him anything that was mine. I knew his mother would influence me to take everything he could from me like the vulture she was. But I had my family by my side, and so much proof that he had been cheating on me for months. He and his mom were dumb for not hiding his relationship better. The divorce went really well, and I managed to leave without losing too much money. It was all worth it to be finally free from him. With him gone, it was like I could finally breathe. For all of 2 seconds, because a month after we got divorced, they announced their engagement. I knew they were throwing it at my face and trying to embarrass me in front of everyone. I saw the looks of pity on everyone's faces when I walked into any room, and I hated it. I went through a time of comparing myself and wondering what it was about her that was so special. I stalked her social media, but was surprised to see that she did not have any pictures of herself. My sister tried to warn me against it and said I was only going to hurt myself. In the end, she gave up and turned to helping me since she was the lawyer. As an extra precaution, I got a private investigator to try and get dirt on her, just in case there was some dirt I could use to knock her down a peg or two. Every time I saw her, she gave me a look of triumph because she took my husband away, and all I wanted was to wipe that smile off her face. She was a woman of Brazilian descent who was born in the United States and worked at the spa that my mother-in-law frequented. My private investigator also found out that she had befriended Dave's mom, who must have been the person who introduced them. So far, everything was squeaky clean. Almost too clean. Every place she used to work at said that she had been an exemplary employee with zero angry bosses or disgruntled friends. She was perfect. But that was until he dug deeper, till he hit a dead end. I had to pay extra cash so he could get a hold of the info, but whatever magic he had done worked because he sent me some mind blowing things about my dear ex's fiancée. She looked an awful lot like a fugitive who escaped Brazil around 2009 after she had been involved in a string of violent crimes, including arson, robbery, drug dealing, and murder with a notorious gang. She had allegedly escaped and no one had been able to identify her. It had been so long that the case was now cold. But around the time that she disappeared, another girl who looked just like her, going under a different name, appeared in the US. A girl who was lying about being born in the US. My first reaction was terror. I had been in the same room as a woman who killed people, and I did not know. What if I had taken him back when he cheated? She would have surely gotten rid of me. She was here with fake papers, running away from violent crimes, and they did not even know. Trust my mother-in-law to befriend the lowliest criminal. It took a while for me to get all the concrete proof, but once I did, I made a call to the Brazilian authorities to let them know that a fugitive they were looking for was in the US illegally and gave them the money, the name she was going by, where she worked, and my mother-in-law's address as the place where she stayed. And then I watched it all burn to the ground. And the best part? It was at the engagement party I was not invited to. But that was fine because I heard all about it. I do not know. Maybe it was divine intervention that their engagement party was crashed by a lot of police, Interpol, etc. She was immediately taken into custody and sent back to her country. Or so I heard. All I know is that one day she was there and the next, she was gone. And there were so many stories about where she was. Even though I missed the party, that did not mean videos of what happened did not reach my hands. The utter satisfaction I got when she was put into cuffs, unable to believe that the jig was up after 10 years of running away from the cops, was priceless. I instantly felt so much better about myself. It was the best revenge I could have ever gotten on her for wrecking my marriage. My mother-in-law had the best reaction of them all, as she had just seen a ghost. She was threatening to sue the authorities for misinformation before all three of them were taken away. My ex and his mom were charged with hiding a dangerous fugitive, despite their claims that they didn't know anything about it. But unfortunately for them, my father was the persecutor of that case. He went hard on them, leaving everyone with no doubt as to how guilty they all were. I could not believe it when my former mother-in-law tried to beg for my forgiveness and say that I was a good daughter-in-law for exposing that criminal. I saw right through her efforts to butter me up so I could influence the case. Their attempts were futile because my father listens to no one, and it was not up to him what happened to them. It was up to the judge to find them guilty. They were found guilty of aiding a fugitive to hide from the law, and both got a year in jail, with no option to appeal, which was a better turnout than what I thought they were going to be charged with. Because the thing was that they knew that she was running away from a crime, as Dave confessed after panicking. But they did not know that it was as bad as arson and murder, so they did not tell the police. It was clear to me that she had played them. My mother-in-law tried to get rid of me, but instead, she shot herself in the foot. Dave was Rosie's ticket to getting legitimate citizenship and to hide in plain sight in an area where no one would ever think to find out what she had done. Unfortunately for her, she crossed paths with me, disrespected me in my own home, then shoved it in my face every day afterward. She might have been a criminal, but I came from a family of people who knew how to handle criminals. I hope that wherever she is, she got a very heavy sentence for all her crimes and for escaping them. Who knew how many she had murdered after escaping from Brazil? And if she would have murdered me if I had been difficult to get out of the way? The sad part was that this whole saga was what made Dave see that his mom was controlling him all this time, and I was right about her being a danger to him. He has sent me multiple letters from prison begging for my forgiveness and blaming all that happened on his mom. But for once, I will not blame her because it was all him. He chose to disregard the vows that we made to be there for each other in good and in bad. Not only not only that, but he never supported me when his mother made me feel bad about myself. He had a choice, a mind of his own, and he was not a 2-year-old who could not make decisions for himself. But now, I am free from all of that drama. I should have never married him in the first place, had I known that he would lose all respect for me if his mother told him to. Never again. I have nothing to say to him anymore. He can go rot. Summary. Opie is a female 26 married to Dave, male 30, who is a mommy's boy. He always takes his mother's side, female 46, which leads to problems in their marriage. One day, Opie comes back to home to find him with another woman having an affair with his mother also in the house. She goes crazy and attacks the woman and kicks her husband out. Her mother-in-law admits that she introduced the woman to Dave. Opie divorces Dave, and thanks to her family of lawyers, she does not have to pay a lot of alimony to Dave, since she earns twice as much as him. After the divorce, Dave and Rosie, female 35, announce their engagement. So Opie starts to dig for info about Rosie just out of curiosity and finds out that Rosie is a wanted criminal for a string of violent crimes in Brazil from 2006 to 2009. Opie alerts the authorities, who apprehend Rosie during hers and Dave's engagement party, and she is deported. Dave and his mom get 1 year in jail for helping a fugitive.